We have new research to suggest that the average Indian in America might be doing very much more for the US economy than we had imagined. In the first year, the average Indian adds $120,000 to the GDP. By the 30th year, that's close to $500,000, and by then would have reduced $1.6 million from the US national debt, and that's an average Indian here in the US too. Let's hear more on this study from Daniel Martino from the Manhattan Institute. Daniel, these are extraordinary numbers. How do they add up?
Indian immigrants are the most highly educated and highest earning group among immigrants in the United States. And the consequence is that because they're not eligible for any welfare, both because a lot of them are not American citizens and also because they make so much money, they pay also so much in taxes because of how progressive the tax system is that they reduce the deficit so much every year that they're present in America that those reductions in the deficit accumulate over time, right? The US is not borrowing more from the market because these immigrants are paying so much in taxes.
And all that arises from the contribution to the GDP.
Yeah, so Indian immigrants are the immigrant group that reduces the debt the most by $1.6 million over 30 years, each average Indian immigrant coming to America. And they also expand the economy at twice the rate of any other immigrant, meaning one Indian immigrant expands GDP by the rate of two average other immigrants.
And how does this compare with other immigrants from China, Pakistan, Mexico?
Yeah, well, I was surprised that Indians were so much more positive than even Chinese immigrants, who also have a reputation for being highly educated, hard workers. But Indian immigrants actually are expected to reduce the debt by twice as much as a Chinese immigrant. And not only that, but also Indians are much better than certainly Latin Americans. Mexican immigrants are expected to actually increase the budget deficit of the United States, while Indian immigrants reduce it by millions of dollars each. So Indian immigrants are certainly the most positive group in economic terms when it comes to America. They also commit very little crime, right? Highly educated people don't tend to commit crimes. Indians' crime rates are insignificant statistically. So that helps not just economically, but socially.
What is it about Indians that adds up to all this and gets them to add up to all this?
It is not that Indians are special. It's that Indians in the United States are special, right? The Indians that come to the United States are not the average Indian in India. I study immigration and it is all about selection, right? When you see what share of Indian people in India have a college degree, it's very small. The overwhelming majority of Indians in the United States are college educated, either in America, most of them, or in India in some of the best universities. So America is simply getting a group of very positively selected Indian immigrants.
If the average Indian is paying that much tax, then the average Indian necessarily gets to keep very much more. And is that then breeding resentment?
Well, Indian immigrants certainly make more money. That's why they pay more in taxes. Whether there's resentment for that or not, I would find it very curious because I wouldn't understand why people would be upset that Indians make a lot more money, because those same people are usually upset when immigrants don't make enough money. So, like, if you are either successful or unsuccessful, it seems that immigrants get hate, So that is curious, and I find it sad, right? Because I think Indians are a really hardworking group of the American population, and they clearly, my research show that if more immigrants in America looked like Indians in terms of their work and education, American immigrants would be much better for the country.
Rationally speaking, of course, it should not breed resentment, but then there is good old envy, and we are seeing a lot of expressions coming out of circles, particularly close to the present government, that the number of Indians coming to the US should be reduced, that they are succeeding and they're taking jobs at the expense of Americans. Do you see this success coming at the expense of Americans?
I do see that there are a few people who are upset about Indian immigration because supposedly they take their jobs they replace them. The reality is the opposite. Indians are growing the economy for everyone. In fact, despite being only about 1.5% of the US population, Indians, immigrants and natives alike, they produce 10% of all patents, meaning innovation. They are extremely entrepreneurial business owners. They are CEOs of major companies. I mean, these are people who are actually employing others, who, because of their innovations, our lives are better off. They're incredibly concentrated, not just in the tech sector, but in the medical sector. A large portion of American physicians are Indian immigrants or of Indian descent. They're saving American lives. So I think Indian immigrants are an exemplary, if not the most exemplary, immigrant group in the United States. And if you want to design a conservative, an ideal immigration policy, you would want to design one where actually a lot more Indians come to America and fewer immigrants from other places. Because Indians speak English, they commit very little crime, they pay much more in taxes and work hard. So why wouldn't you want them?
Despite all that, we are hearing a lot of opposition, in particular to the H-1B visa, and presumably all the or most of the Indians you described came to the US on the H-1B visa. So if these people are so good for the US economy, where are all these proposals against them coming from then?
Well, part of my analysis, I estimated the economic impact of every single visa type in the United States. And actually, the H-1B visa is the most economically positive visa type. Now, could it be better? Yes. The reality is that because it's designed as a lottery for the cap, for the 85,000 cap visas that are selected a year, yes, everybody's college educated. Most of them have an advanced degree, but a lot of them are middle-waged workers rather than high-wage workers because it's a lottery. A lot of it is fraud too. There are several Indian firms that are third-party contractors that abuse the system. And I think that that's part of what's breeding resentment. So what I'm hoping is that there is H-1B visa reform, not limitation. And with the reform, that they select the highest paid H-1B workers. These workers are probably still going to be a huge portion, if not most of them, Indian, but they're going to be higher paid, they're not going to be exploited, there's not going to be abuse of the system, and it's going to, I think, reduce opposition to Indian immigration if it's reformed.
Do you think the Trump government will try to limit this path?
Well, what the Trump administration is already trying to do is that they're going to publish a new H-1B visa regulation where they are going to try to, by regulation, without Congress, allocate these visas partially based on wage. I am not sure whether that attempt is legal. I do think it's a good step, but they're not going to end the H-1B visa program. The president simply doesn't have the authority to do so. The president can and will probably do what he did in his first term, which is that he's going to increase the evidentiary burden to receive an H-1B visa, such that those third-party abusers have a harder time abusing the lottery, right? The President Biden already did great reforms to the H-1B program to avoid the lottery abuse, and I think Trump is just going to deepen that.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.